Hello, welcome to the big friendly conversation about mental health. I'm sorry there were a few technical issues just then, which meant that I did the entire intro for about 2 minutes, not realising that I was actually live. So I'm just going to check that I am actually live, and it looks like I'm live. I'm aware I need to change the thumbnail for the stream, but it does look like we are live. So it's great to be here with you. I'll just go over the intro again. Basically, this is Mental Monday, the big friendly conversation about mental health, where for the next half an hour, I'll be talking all things mental health. And it's completely unscripted. There is no script at all. And really, we just go by what you say in the chat, what you have to say in the comments, really what you go talk about. I'll pick up on that vibe and start discussing it. It's great to be here. I am aware I need to change the thumbnail. I don't actually have one by the looks of things. I've been having a bit of a sort out on my laptop today, so it's been a bit of a mess actually. So I'll just try and find that. In the meantime, welcome. Do let me know you're here. Say hello in the chat. Let me know you're watching. Make sure the audio is okay. I've chosen not to have the headphones in because I didn't really see a difference with them in or out. So go and try it without it. If it becomes a problem, I'll be happy to dig them out and put them in. But they're not in this room at the moment, so it's going to be difficult. I'll have to kind of dodge out and get them. In other news, it is the end of Mental Health Awareness Week, and this is for me, Mental Health Awareness Week is the biggest event in the mental health calendar. I am live every day, Monday to Friday, and there was 5 blogs as well that were released. We got involved massively last year when it was about body image, and it's great to get involved again and start talking all things mental health. I'll probably go over some of my thoughts on that, but there is no real script. It's not really a tangent. This isn't a formal, this isn't like a video where I'll be discussing, say, 5 tips for self-care. It's just informal, a check-in, see how everyone is, and it's every Monday. So let me know you're here. Let me know you're actually listening. My computer has just crashed. I do apologise. I need to get myself a new laptop. But yes, looks like we are live and we're streaming. I'm streaming on tripod. I know it's a little high. This is the lowest it goes. Unfortunately, I can't seem to get it at eye line, and I can't put my chair up any higher. So, for Mental Health Awareness Week, I was standing by the wardrobe over there. Now we're here. So, I do apologise for the kind of bland background of staring at me and a clock, which is wrong, because it needs a battery. So, ignore the clock and ignore me, but not this me, and you should be alright. It's great to talk about mental health and actually kind of just discuss what everyone's going through and how we all are. And it's more important than ever, really, that we do check in with each other and make sure, we're all okay, really. And actually, the theme of Mental Health Week this last week was kindness. And, it's something we need a lot more of. And it's something we're seeing a lot more of. And I would hope that trend does continue as we kind of move into this kind of lockdown easing here in the UK and kind of things starting to resume back to normal. That kindness is really something that we continue, and the sense of community that's been built these last few weeks, especially, seeing the neighbours smiling at them over the fence, being, well, in your garden, probably nearer to the neighbours who are also stuck at home. That sense of community and that kindness actually does continue. And really, that's kind of what my biggest kind of wish for Mental Health Awareness Week really was, that is actually something that's done. Whether it will be or not is I'm not sure. I don't know how. I think when things start getting back to normal, they'll be kind of, we'll get back into the routine of things. But I wonder what your thoughts are on that as well. We're about 5 minutes in now. Hopefully everyone that has joined by now. Feel free to say something in the chat. Normally do go by what you say in the chat, as I mentioned, so do get your comments coming in. If you want to reach me separately, the Twitter is at Jake S Wrights, and Instagram as well, or whatever else you find me on. Feel free to send me a message. I do check them all. And yeah, hello, hi. It's been a while since I've done one of these. I went for a stage, and this is kind of represented by lack of content on the channel as well. Not just here, but on, say, Instagram, more notably as well. I went for a stage of not talking about my mental health. I went through this phase believing that talking about my mental health would make it worse, and I kind of shut down opportunities to talk about my mental health, and I didn't really engage. And then it was around just before lockdown, actually in February roughly, that I started actually thinking, this would be a good thing, and I kind of started talking about mental health again, and I was happy I did so, because actually talking about mental health for me showed me that there was a life through mental health, and I could actually still... I thought talking about it would just keep me in a place where I didn't really... I just kept thinking about it, and I wouldn't really move on from it, and therefore if I wasn't able to move on from it, I of course wouldn't be able to get better. And again, that's something that I still kind of... I just wonder how much kind of into mental health, and I think that comes from just kind of my what I used to do to cope wasn't working, and I feel like the constant anxiety of maybe the news as well just meant that I wasn't able to chill, because there was this background anxiety, and it wasn't really high, and I've been inside a lot, taking the occasional exercise, but few and far between, as we're meant to be shielding. So it is the one walk of exercise I showed on my Instagram was probably my first walk in weeks, to be honest. It was an interesting time. I felt like I was alright, and then I realised Mental Health Week was coming round, and I was deciding, do I want to get involved in this? And then I said yes, because obviously I always get involved in Mental Health Week. And it was actually through writing the content I realised, actually you still have these thoughts, and actually you're just kind of getting on with it, but that doesn't really make you happy. And then by kind of getting into planning for Mental Health Week, which at that time the theme was sleep, and then it changed to kindness, at that time it was I was thinking, actually I like this. I like talking about mental health. I like getting involved. I like being in that conversation, and I found that really helpful, is to kind of get back into that. And planning for that week showed me that you can actually talk about mental health, and it's okay to. And I'm really happy that I was able to do that, and that week came at that point, because that week has kind of shown me that actually, yes, you should be talking about mental health, and it's something that makes me happy. It's something that I like helping. It's something I can do, and I feel like I'm in this position where I've kind of come a long way on my recovery journey. I'm able to vocalize what I've been through. I'm able to write what I've been through. I should be doing that to help people, and in doing so, I'm processing it and I'm helping myself as well. So there's really no loss, other than maybe, putting time into something that doesn't get a reward back, financially or kind of with the view count. But for me, knowing that someone may watch this video, someone may read a blog and actually be happy for a moment to get lost in kind of reading or watching a video, I know I'm not going to change anything. And I was back to a blog I was reading for Mental Health Week, is that you're not going to fix that person, but if you can help them in some small way, I feel like I should do that. And it obviously makes me happy to be back here. I love being on camera and saying hello to everyone, so it's great to be back. But I thought talking was the issue, and I feel like there is a time when there is too much mental health, especially if you're, say, a mental health blogger or a mental health advocate or someone who talks openly about mental health, and then you kind of are not feeling great yourself. It can kind of make it worse talking about mental health when you're not feeling great. But then you can apply that to anything, really. Is that if you're not feeling great, or if it's kind of all getting too much, then actually taking a step back and taking some rest is actually good. And all that kind of comes into the self-care and not overdoing it, etc., etc., that I talk about so much. And that's why the first couple of weeks of lockdown's been really good for me, because I've been able to actually not do anything really for the first couple of weeks. And then after the first couple of weeks, it was about 3 weeks into lockdown, where I'd done actually nothing at all. That really, really chilled me out, because I would have never got that normally. And having that time helped so much, just to process everything and to think through things and to not think at all. And I think the not thinking at all put me in a really good place. And coming off the back of that, I have literally managed to do so much, and I feel so, like, I guess, productive and so engaged, and I've kind of fallen back into love with marketing and writing, which is what I do, and also obviously my blog and talking about mental health as well. And I've kind of restarted everything, and it's really good to have had that time to pause, reflect, and then get back involved. And that's what I like. I kind of dropped out of that community, and I'm kind of reconnecting with the mental health community as well, which is really nice. There is, if you know where to look for it, and it's not always easy to find, there is an amazing mental health community. There are people who have been through, say, things you have, in my case, people who are depressed, people who are anxious, people who kind of hate life right now, and actually are getting through it. And actually talking to them, seeing what they're writing, seeing what they're doing, actually being part of that community is useful, because then you realise that you're not actually alone. And, I've got people in the mental health community that if I'm not feeling well, I can talk to them, and, they've been through the same thing, and it creates that open space. And even though I may not use it that much, or even at all in most cases, it's there. And that is a great comfort to me, and that's helped me a lot, is actually having that space to talk, and having that space where you can kind of, the help is there, even if you don't use it. And that is why I love the mental health community so much, and why it's, good to be back, and back on the stream talking about various things. Is there anything else anyone wants to talk about? We're about halfway through the stream now. I understand it's bank holiday, and I believe there is a Downing Street press conference as well going on. Yes, there is. It's currently going on. So, you may be watching that a little distracted, or you may have had enough of watching people talking after Dominic Cummings' very long press conference there, or just watching the news all day. I'm kind of getting into this habit of watching the news a lot more often. Most of the time I didn't really look at the news. I would kind of read the news in the morning, on the train, but now it's kind of always on, and you just kind of walk downstairs and it's there, and it's kind of... I'm trying to work on my intake, because there was a point when we were kind of going into lockdown and kind of in the middle of it, where I was watching the news like all day every day, and I had all the live blog open where it'd be updated every minute with something that's happened, and it does get overwhelming right now, and it is overwhelming, and I feel like biggest thing you can do is take a step back from it all, because you can only control what you do, really, in this situation. What other people do, what Boris does, what anyone in government does, what the politicians and what people do by going to the beach and not being socially distant, etc. You can't control that. So ultimately, focus on what you can control if it is getting too much. And you may be frustrated, I know I certainly am, when, you're trying to do everything right and then other people aren't, by going to the beach, etc. That, you're you don't see the point, because while you're doing your bit, other people aren't, and then it kind of, what's the point in you doing your bit if no one else is? But you can only control yourself, your actions, and if you're doing the right thing by you and those that you live with, really, that's all you can do. So I feel like limiting the intake of what other people are doing, and focusing on what you're doing, is probably the best thing to do. That's what I'm doing. Yeah, I know it's hard. It's really hard right now. And yeah, it's difficult. And I feel like, just try and talk to friends, family, but not on current events. I feel like, do talk about other stuff as well. Sometimes conversations can be dominated with stories like everything, really. I was going to try and pick out a specific one, but really the entire kind of coronavirus story is obviously in every single conversation, and actually creating that space, or having that kind of Zoom dinner or coffee or whatever you have, and actually saying, right, coronavirus, we'll talk about that some other time, let's get a bit of normality back, and pump me, talk about something else. And that's probably one of my other tips as well, is actually having that variation in conversation. So I'm quite lucky in that I'm in marketing, which is kind of an ongoing world. So talking about marketing, talking about blogging is the same I would do if this wasn't happening. So answering Quora questions about people's marketing problems still goes on, and I still have that routine, whilst my routine has been disrupted because I've been furloughed from the small business, because I'm a small business marketer on the kind of 9 to 5. So currently on furlough from that, but while I'm on furlough, I'm still trying to keep up with the Twitter and the Quora, and I'm actually having time to post on Instagram now, which is nice. But actually, being in the position where, you actually try and get a routine, and it resembles the norm, would work, and that works for me. It might not work for you. It might be too difficult to actually kind of do things that you'd normally do when everything else is stressing you out. or you don't see the point in doing them, and that's totally understandable. And I think one of the points I was speaking about most of last week was about doing your best. And, we're all in a situation that probably most of us couldn't have imagined our lives would change. I could certainly not have imagined that if I didn't need something, if I say ran out of food, I could have just popped to the shop, but now shops are off limits, so I have to wait, 3 weeks for a delivery, and that kind of the kind of adjustment I have to have in terms of, you can't just eat cake or do things whenever you like, and it's kind of a shake up, and obviously there's people in a lot worse positions, but adapting to a position which I could still live quite comfortably, but trying to adapt into that position is actually quite hard. Then not going out, having the headphones in, walk down on the train, off the train, and then like that kind of the whole routine is just gone. Trying to cling on to something might not be practical. Some things you've just got to I'm just going to have to put that on hold, and actually being accepting with yourself that, I went into this thinking, this is going to be great, I'm going to write a book, because I had a book that I wanted to write, which, I haven't done, but then I've actually got myself through this time. I've got myself back talking about mental health. I managed to sort out kind of all the dregs of my website, which I think I've turned into something decent, hopefully, and kind of all the other stuff that I've been up to. I've actually, I've done stuff, and I've still given it my best, even though, I haven't, just learnt the harmonica that's sitting in one of these drawers. I've still given it my best, and that's what matters, really. We're all trying our best, and we've not been through this before, and just being accepting of yourself that we're all trying our best, and no one really knows what we're meant to be doing. That's kind of my message, and that was my message of Mental Health Awareness Week as well, is that, we're all trying our best, and that's good enough. So there we go. That is kind of my final thoughts. I normally just go in talking. I hate having scripts when I talk. When I talk, I feel like I speak more openly and kind of more freely in a way when I don't have a script, because then I have to kind of process it on the spot. So you hear me as I'm processing things rather than me reading something that I've already processed and it edited to an inch of its life. I've actually processing things and telling you that I'm processing things live, and I feel like that's better for me as well, because instead of having to decide, do I want to say that, is that a thought I want to share, it's just all out there, and that kind of takes some of that bottling up out, and also hopefully helps you as well. Hopefully you find that a lot more engaging than just me reading off a script. So we are 24 minutes in now. Does anyone want to say anything about our first Mental Monday? We will be live next Monday, and every Monday for the foreseeable future, although I may have to change the time to something slightly later, or move us to the weekend, although it then won't be Mental Monday. So, don't really know what I go for Saturday. Really? What rhymes with S that I could actually call this programme that goes with Saturday? Let me know, because I've got a couple of words in mind, both of which are not appropriate for a title. So we can't include those. I'm sure you can imagine what they are, but we can't include those two. So any suggestions would be welcome. I do hope everyone is keeping well and safe. I am trying to talk more in the mental health community to check in and say hello and make sure everyone's okay, really. I do hope that you are finding some benefit in these lives, and will continue to. I don't want to create a formal space. I want to create a non-work. So for me, because obviously I talk about marketing all day as well, talking about mental health is non-work for me. It's just a bit of creative fun where I get to, share my story and obviously hopefully help you guys out as well. But actually, for me, I don't want this to be work. I don't want this to be a YouTube chat video on the channel, in the sense that here I am, I'm going to give you 5 tips on how to do marketing. I want it to be fun, free, fluid, saying what's on everyone's minds really, and what we're all kind of going through. And I would hope that that's not something that happens. I would hope that this doesn't turn into just kind of me talking. It just turns into something more just something free, just something open really. And there we go. I think that's about it from me. Unless you guys want to say anything, that is about it. Thank you so much for being here for this first revived episode of Mental Monday. It's always good to talk to you and be here and talk about mental health. And I'm always grateful that it's the support and my mental health blog that have helped me on this journey of recovery, so that I'm actually able to talk here today. And I always say it at the end of my videos, but I owe a lot to the mental health community in their support and their openness, because it's the mental health community that were really the first kind of public source that's kind of not, a kind of professional or someone in your family or a close friend who actually accept mental health and encouraged me and showed me that, they're open about what they're going through and they're okay. And it kind of encouraged me that actually, what I'm doing is okay. And it's encouraged me and kind of edged me into this community to do these live streams. So it's always great to be here and talk about them. And thank you so much for joining me, actually. It's been a pleasure as always. You can reach me on Twitter at Jake S. Writes, or on my website, Jake Symons, SYMONS, no D, no I, .com. So, we'll be back next Monday. I'm thinking of starting back the mental health blog as well, but that might take a couple more weeks, maybe even a month, as I decide kind of topics and then write them all, and then because that has to be edited and I have to write, because when I write I don't really think I convey the same thing as I speak, and I'm still trying to train myself to write as I speak. I write way too formally, I think, for the mental health blog side. I write it like my marketing blog, and I am trying to be more chill and more informal, I guess, and actually sharing in that as a person, not as a... I try and write from a person, not as a mental health blog writer. I try and write as, me, not a writer on a mental health blog. And actually I try and take all branding and all kind of style, or kind of what I should be writing or how I normally write, to how I'm feeling on the day at the time, the topic I'm writing about, and just write it and hopefully write it the same way as I would if I was talking about that on here, Mental Monday. What are your thoughts on that? I know I should probably write to a style and, all the other... It seems to be going against a lot of advice. So I'm just wondering if you find that something helpful. I find it helpful. I find being free personally. Personally for me, I find being free helps me, realise that, just talking about this is normal, it's natural, what you're going through is okay, it helps you process it better. But does it help you? That is the question. Or would you prefer something a little more structured? Do let me know. I will be around after this on Twitter or any social media really that you want to get me on, but mainly Twitter. Let me know if you need anything. Other than that, I've been Jake Symons. This is the big friendly conversation about mental health on Mental Monday, broadcasting live. And I look forward to seeing you live again next Monday at 7 p.m. UK time to enjoy another conversation about mental health.